Hello and warmly welcome to SAP on Azure podcast. This is episode 280. Today is November 21st, and today with Robert and Holger, we will talk everything and anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hi, hello. So we today have a very interesting really session related to SAP on Azure Backup for SAP. That sense, backup is, as always, kind of important topic for any SAP system. Azure Backup, which I always like, is an SAP, is a cloud service which follow the concept of zero infrastructure backup, which means it eliminates the need to deploy and manage the backup infrastructure again as a real backup service. So today we have again, I would say, the old kid on the block, the Pradeep. He was there before, and now he will just share with us the latest update on the Azure Backup. About the reduced pricing. Pricing is always important, and about the roadmap, such as new databases like Sybase, which is in a preview, and HANA Scale Out. This is still not yet anywhere announced, but I'm really looking forward also for this part. So, Pradeep, for the folks who do not know you, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Hey, thanks, Goran. Thanks for having me on your podcast again. It's always a pleasure to be here. So, hello, viewers. My name is Pradeep. I'm the Senior Product Manager working in Azure Backup, predominantly taking care of SAP workloads. So, really excited to be here, as always.
Great. So tell us, what do we have a new since the last time? I believe there is a many new stuff.
Absolutely, a lot of interesting things that we are doing. Yeah. I would like to showcase. Let me quickly share my screen.
Sure. All right, I can see it. Yeah.
So for folks who are completely new, I'll give a quick introduction about what Azure Backup is, a quick overview of what our wonderful service does, and then probably we'll jump into the other interesting things that I wanted to share with your audience, right? So Azure Backup is a managed service. If you see ground up, these are different diverse workloads that we support on Azure Backup, right from your on-prem servers, Azure VM, we support SQL, HANA, and we also recently introduced Sybase or ASE database, and we have Azure Files, PG SQL, disks, blobs, and AKS. So this list is constantly growing, which is really good. And this is one good service where you can manage all your backups end to end. So we have designed this service such that when you try to protect one workload, the whole workflow remains the same so that there is no learning curve. And then in terms of capabilities, if you see the next one, which is our data plane, which is the most important part, is where we have the recovery services vault. So the USP of Azure Backup Service is the recovery services vault, which is completely air gapped. And we have multiple options under recovery services vault. So you can choose, when you're configuring your recovery services vault, you can choose what type of replication you're looking at, whether you need LRS, GRS, RHGRS. So these are different options that you get with your vault configuration. And we have also support for multiple tiers. So when I say multiple tiers, we support Snapshot tier, which is in the customer storage account itself. And as part of the vault, we have standard tier and archive tier. So basically, this will have different retention periods in case if you want to retain your recovery points for longer period, you can configure that in the backup policy. And in case if you want to archive that for even a really long time, you can automatically configure that after a certain period. Let's say after 45 days, I don't think I would really access these recovery points so often. I would like to move them to archive tier so to save on cost. So you can configure that automatically. We have smart tiering. We will, once it reaches that period, it will move to archive tier. So we have a lot of capabilities in terms of configuration, which is highly flexible. And the best part is we get the you get the best built-in security capabilities.
Yeah.
Security is key. So we have built-in RBAC, we support encryption at rest, we do managed keys as well as customer managed keys, Azure managed and customer managed keys. We have capabilities like soft delete and MUA.
I believe when you mentioned the archive tier, it should be something also for a longer period, which is also cheaper.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
Great.
So a lot of customers do that, especially for customers where there is compliance requirement, right? So where they want to retain those recovery points for really, really longer periods, say 5 years or 10 years. So what they do is they enable archive tier automatically. All those recovery points move to archive tier automatically, and they can retain them whenever they need. So that's the best part about that.
Super.
Yeah. And apart from the security, so some security capabilities like immutable vaults that we have, basically what will happen is once you enable immutability, if there is any ransomware attack or insider attack that happens, they won't be able to change the backup policy. So that is crucial. There are scenarios where we have seen customers reaching out to us saying that we had a insider attack where somebody went ahead and reduced the retention period on the backup policy, which means automatically after a certain period, 1 or 2 days, all the backups would get deleted. So, which is really worrying. So once you enable immutability, which is again a capability at the vault level, nobody would be able to decrease the backup policy period. You can certainly increase the retention period, but you won't be able to decrease that. Yeah. That is a very, very crucial capability that we have.
It is because backup is a holy cow. I mean, you need to have it, and it has to be there, and it must not be by chance deleted, so to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now coming to the management plane, this is the single pane of glass view where you can manage multiple vaults. So you could be having different recovery services vault. It could be based on, you could be managing one vault for all workloads, probably all SQL in one vault and all HANA in another vault. So you can manage multiple vaults from one place. That is your Azure Business Continuity Center, or ABCC we call it. So you can manage all your subscriptions, resource groups, all your vaults. You can manage all your backups from one place, view in one single pane. So that is the best part about the management plane capability that we have, which is Azure Business Continuity Center. And one more point I would like to call out is we are seeing a lot of customers enabling private endpoints support as well. So you have the virtual machine and you have the recovery services vault. You can enable PE, private endpoint, between your VM and your recovery services vault, which means it's going to be highly secured. And that is something which we are seeing a lot of customers highly adopting that solution as well. So just thought I'd call that out for customers who are very curious about security per se.
Yeah, that's really nice. Private endpoint, a nice security feature, and which is also give you, performance as well, because it's just
absolutely
on the Azure network itself. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So this is a quick overview of the Azure Backup service as such. So the next big announcement is about our lowered pricing that we introduced from 1st of September this year. So predominantly for HANA Backup, there are two components to the pricing. One is your protected instance fee or management fee, and the second is your storage consumption fee. Whatever the storage that you're going to consume, basically there are storage charges for that. So what we did for HANA Backup, again, this revised pricing or new pricing is only applicable for HANA Backup, and it's applicable to all customers, any new customer or any old customer as well, and it's to all regions. So what we went ahead and did was, in terms of protected instance fee, the older fee was $80 in East US2, for example, for every 500 GB size. So for example, if you're running 1 TB of HANA database, earlier pricing was $160 because every 500 GB we used to charge $80. So $160. And what we did with the new pricing model is we went ahead and removed that slab-based pricing completely. So we are starting from 1st of September, we are starting a flat fee model. So which means irrespective of the size of your database, you'd be charged a flat fee. So again, this flat fee changes from region to region. For East US2, it's $80. So there is a good saving of 50% in terms of your cost. And for larger databases, say anything like 10 TB, earlier customers were paying close to $1,600. Now it'll be just $80. So good 95% savings in the cost.
Yeah, and this is a big thing, because in the past it was progressively, okay, according to the size, and now with the flat price, there's huge benefit, especially having in mind that productive database are bigger sizes in terabytes,
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
happy news for the customer outside.
True, yeah. So we've been getting very good feedback from our customers. So yeah. And coming to the snapshot backup. So snapshot backup, so predominantly what we are seeing is streaming backup or the backend way to do the backup for HANA databases. We see small and large databases up to say 10 to 12 TB in size. Customers prefer using streaming backup. And anything beyond say 20, 30, 40 terabytes in size, we recommend customers using snapshot backup. For all reasons, it's pretty quick. And what we did with snapshot backup is we were earlier doing 500 GB slab. We changed that slab to 5 TB. So which is still a huge benefit for customers. So any customer who was protecting 30 TB earlier, we were charging $4,800. Now it's just $480.
Yeah.
Again, a good savings of 90%.
Yeah.
Cost savings, huge savings for snapshot backup customers or HANA backup customers. So you don't have to make any changes. No configuration changes required for this pricing change. Automatically, this will be applicable. You should be seeing this change in your latest bill that you are going to get. And then any new customers that's coming on board, this new pricing will be automatically applicable.
Great. So they can only expect to have a lower price.
Absolutely.
Lower excellent.
Yes. So what we are doing is we introduce capabilities like compression and multi-streaming backup. So basically, what will happen is with this lowered pricing, you will get more value. So once you enable compression, you can save much further. So which means you can say once you enable HANA native compression at the database level, you can easily save 30 to 40% reduction in storage size. So with this protected instance fee, and once you enable compression, there is huge savings in costs for customers. At the same time, if they enable multi-streaming backup, which is basically having multiple streams of backup between your VM and your recovery services vault, you can transfer the data or move the data to the recovery services vault much faster, right?
So once it's more,
multi-streaming, right? So that way it's lowered fee and much higher performance in terms of your backup performance. So
I guess the compression would be also some, best practices, HANA compression, best practices recommendation anyway, because it's reduce the size of the database, reducing the backup price, and enhancing the speed of through the multiple channels of copy.
True. Yeah. So what we thought is it's good to showcase the overall cost savings for customers, not only the PI, the protected instance saving. We thought it's good to showcase good view of what would be your overall savings. See, for any customer, for a small and medium scale enterprise customers, say anybody who's running 600 GB of 5 HANA instances and 4 TB of 2 HANA instances. I just took an example based on our telemetry. What used to happen is the older pricing is what this is. And once we implement compression, once you enable compression and new pricing automatically kicks in, basically there is an overall savings of 45% for these instances and 62% for the large instances. So net, if you see, you will save more than 50% in your current savings automatically. Once you do this compression and the new pricing, overall bill that you're going to get, or when you compare your older bill and the new bill, you will save good 50% in your overall cost. That is a huge saving for customers. Yeah. So the same, same would be applicable for large enterprise customers. So for customers who are running 20 instances or 5 into 10 TB HANA instances, there is good 50 and 60% savings in your complete total bill, right?
Yeah.
So this, I thought it would be a good view for viewers to understand. Okay, now that you guys have introduced this new pricing, what can I expect in my final bill? So net, you will see this huge savings in your final bill that you were getting earlier.
I mean, people are looking forward to reduced or increase the margin for 2-3%, which can be a lot.
Yes.
And we talk about 50-60%. It's a lot. Yeah, it's huge.
Absolutely. Yes. Great. With compression, it's huge savings on that. So we've seen a lot of customers enabling compression as part of, because again, it's a native HANA native compression. We don't do it's database which automatically takes care of that. Mm-hmm. So again, it gives close to 30 to 40% reduction in storage size. Now coming to the roadmap. So some of the interesting things that we recently launched. So yesterday we launched the public preview of SAP ASE Backup. So we have a lot of HANA Backup customers who also use AnyDB, who also use non-HANA databases, like it could be ASE Sybase, it could be Oracle, it could be DB2, MaxDB. So slowly what we are doing is we are adding those non-HANA databases to our portfolio to support Azure Backup as a service. So as part of that, so today we already support SQL, we already support HANA, and we are introducing support for Sybase. And we are also currently working on Oracle as well. So nice. A lot of interesting things happening from the Azure Backup service as such. So I think 2 months before we launched the private preview for ASE Backup, we got good feedback from the customers. So and we also launched additional capabilities. We brought in support for compression. We brought in striping. So striping is equivalent of multi-streaming for HANA for faster backup. And we brought in cross-region restore. So this is kind of a cheap DR solution. So in case if you want your backups to be available in a secondary region, usually a paired region. So once you enable CRR, cross-region restore in your recovery services vault, automatically we create a copy in the secondary region. We create, there'll be a vault in the secondary region, and then whatever is there gets replicated to a secondary region. And in case of any disaster or anything, you can just go to that, restore that database from your secondary region, have the VM up and running.
Cool. So basically, yeah, you're right. This can be a kind of simplified DR solution, so to say. So let's say, I mean, they could use for Azure Site Recovery for the application layer. Yeah. And here, generally, we would always say for the DR, okay, you would ASR is not supported because of the database consistency. They should use the database replication methods simply because they are consistent. However, here and the challenge here is the database VM on DR region has to be up and running all the time. Correct. Maybe they could have a smaller one, okay, to reduce the cost. But however, I mean, this is all cross-region restore and replication is happening offline. You know, there is no need that some VM is on a DR region up and running all the time, right? Correct. Which reduce the cost as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So during a disaster, you can bring up the VM and then restore that database. You are going to have your recovery points in a secondary region. So as you said, there is no VM in the secondary region asset, right? Mm-hmm. So you can, after any critical scenario, you can immediately bring up the VM and then restore those databases into the VM. So that is something which customers can consider.
Nice, I like it.
So we also brought in support for private endpoint. So on top of the regular backup and restore capabilities, which we launched in the private preview, we brought in these additional capabilities. And what I'll do is probably I'll just run through this and then I'll give you a quick demo of
Great.
the complete end-to-end solution so that you will, the viewers will have good clarity on how the whole backup solution is. And this is about the ASE compression. By default, what we do is we set level 101, and you can enable compression using like multiple places. One is using your backup policy. When you're creating your backup policy, you can say whether you want compression or not. And the second one is if you are looking at taking an ad hoc backup. So let's say your maintenance window is due, and then your next backup, scheduled backup is only tomorrow. What you can do is you can take a backup now or ad hoc backup so that you don't have to wait for your next scheduled backup. So when you're doing an ad hoc backup, you can also select whether you want enable compression or not. And there are different levels of compression. But by default, based on our testing, what we thought was level 101 seems to be more optimized. So we went ahead and by default, once you enable compression, level 101 will be set. And if required, based on your testing, what we strongly recommend customers is to test the compression and multi-streaming or striping before enabling it, because there is a minor spike in CPU resources and memory resources because this is additional capability, additional work on top of the regular work that VM does. So there is some minor spikes that you can see, but we strongly recommend customers to test before enabling these capabilities.
So one question here, is this compression coming from a database or is coming from the Azure?
This is native compression. This is ASE supported
from Azure. Okay.
No, native from database.
Native from database. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So which is more safer if the database is going to support that automatically encryption, everything is taken care of, right? So it's much secured. So this is ASE native compression. And coming to striping, this is exactly similar to what we do for the multi-streaming backup for HANA. So even here, by default, 4 stripes are enabled. So you need to make some changes to the pre-registration script for you to enable striping. By default, it's not enabled. Even compression is not enabled by default. You need to select when you're doing backup policy, creating backup policy or ad hoc backup. And striping, basically, you need to enable that in your pre-registration script. So pre-registration script is something which customer will run the very first time when they are associating the VM to the Azure Backup. These are basically checks and balances to make sure all the versions are there, all the prerequisites are done, to make sure there are no surprises later. So we request customers to run the pre-registration script. This is a mandatory step as part of your initial onboarding. So when you're running that is where you will tell whether you want to enable striping or not. So by default, when you enable, we enable with 4 stripes.
When you say stripe, for me automatically comes to my mind striping of the multiple managed disk in a one volume for the sake of the size and for the sake of the performance. Is that striping mean that? So multiple data, physical managed devices, disks, or
good question?
Something?
No, this striping is completely different. So I know because each database have their different nomenclature. So as this is simply multi-streaming backup, right? So we don't make any changes to your disk configuration or anything. This is at the database level where they do multiple stripes to transfer the data from the VM to the recovery services vault. This is simply, we use 4 stripes, or you can consider this as 4 channels. So
channels,
yeah. So basically in ASE they say stripes, so we wanted to stick with the same name.
All right.
So yeah. So in HANA they say streaming, so multi-streaming, and in ASE they call it as stripes.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Native database terminology.
Terminology, absolutely. So, and again, we use by default based on our internal testing, whichever is optimized, we went ahead and configured automatically by default as 4 stripes. And based on your testing, you can change that and then see how it goes. So anything lower than 128 GB, we don't recommend customers enabling striping because it does not really make sense, because it's going to be very, very small database. It does not make sense to stripe that database for faster throughput. And basically what we have seen, the trend is bigger the database, better striping performance, right? So the larger the database, you will have better, faster throughput between your VM to your recovery services vault.
Mhm. So it's basically, well, streaming sounds more better to me.
Correct.
Streaming channel, which would basically paralyze the throughput, so to say, or increase the throughput. Okay, all right,
Correct,
makes
yeah.
sense.
And then coming to the other roadmap item, we are looking at launching scale-out support for streaming backup, right? So today we support standalone databases and deployments, and we support HSR. We will soon be introducing scale-out support for HANA Backup. Again, we'll do that in two phases. First is we'll just do scale-out without HSR, and in phase 2 we will do scale-out with HSR. As you know, HANA, we use managed disks, right? So managed disk doesn't support standby nodes. So you cannot do scale out plus standby, so which is not supported. So that's where we see a lot of customers using scale out with HSR, right? With the pacemaker cluster. So
Correct.
in phase 1, we will just support customers protecting the scale out nodes. And in phase 2, we will soon slowly introduce support for HSR. So which means we will protect both, just exactly like how our current HSR Azure Backup protection is going to be.
Yeah. But I believe, I mean, as far as I know, and I see majority of the customer would use actually this configuration of scale out with the HSR, because they would go across the zones for the high availability reasons, for example. So then it's HSR out of the box enabled, right? So I guess you would hit majority of the scale out customers by enabling this. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And as far as I know, you haven't yet informed or announced anybody so far about the scale out plans, right?
Yes, yeah, correct. Yes, this is going to be special for customers. Yeah.
It is. So we are privileged to be the first kind of channel to mention it, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So we are aiming at say December timeframe or early January. So we will send out official announcement. So watch out for that. And any customers who are keen on trying it, then once we do the private preview announcement, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to have you as part of the private preview customer. Now coming to the snapshot backup, again, scale out is required for snapshot deployments as well. Any customer who's doing snapshot way of backing up, so we will support that as well. But that is going to be little down the road. So first we are concentrating on scale out using streaming backup, because that is where majority of customers go with. They prefer using backint way to back up their HANA databases. And for customers who are using very large databases, 20, 30, 40 terabytes in size, where we have seen customers using snapshot backup. So first step is we will do scale out for streaming, and then we bring in element of HSR, and then we will come to scale out for snapshot and HSR. That is the roadmap that we have.
Okay.
So let me quickly show a demo of the ASE backup. And again, pretty much the flow that we are going to see will be exactly same for most of the workloads. So workload nuances can change, but pretty much we made sure that the workflow is pretty much the same, so that there is no new learning curve for customers, right? Yeah. So for ASE backup, so we have the concept of recovery services vault, so which is completely air gapped, and you can add your VMs. It can be any VM, any workload that we are going to support, and manage it from the recovery services vault, right? So this is the landing page for recovery services vault. And once you click on backup, so you need to select what workload you're going to protect. It could be Azure, Azure Stack, Azure Stack Hub, what workload that you're going to select. and what workload you're going to protect, right? Whether it's going to be VM, Azure files, and SQL, HANA, whatever workload that you're looking at to protect. And once you do that, we'll do the discovery. So what happens is, in this stage, we will basically showcase all the VMs that are in that subscription, in that resource group, in that region. We will automatically pull the VMs from there. And then we will ask you, okay, which VM you want to protect. So once you do this, we do the discovery. So in this stage where we will go and install an extension. So again, this extension is installed on the VM. Nothing changes with the database. This extension is installed at the Azure VM level. And once we do that, we will try to discover that databases. So
when you say discover, so is there how it would work if you have a single instance of Sybase, or maybe Sybase, they also have a replication, so to say, as far as I know.
correct.
So is there any, will that be also discovered at the moment, or?
Good question. So first phase, what we are doing for public preview is we support only standalone, right? So, and then later we will bring in HA or replication into picture. So from HSR perspective, for HANA, and what we do is we create a physical container where both the nodes are attached, and then we will protect that container automatically. So this is what we do for HANA, for HSR, and for ASE, we introduce only standalone nodes in phase 1 for public preview. And then for GA, we will also look at supporting the HA or replication as well.
Okay.
So in this phase, you will select basically what VM that you're looking to protect and then do discovery. So since this is a demo, I've already discovered some of the databases. So just to save on time. So here, if you see, we've discovered 16 databases. We do that and automatically you can basically protect. So we are done with the discovery, and then we do configuration, backup configuration. So here is where you will create the backup policy, how often you want to protect, daily, weekly, backup policy, right. And then you can configure the log backups as well. And then this is where you enable the compression I was talking about, right? So you can enable compression automatically, all the compression will be enabled, and then your databases will be compressed and then stored in recovery services vault.
So that compression will trigger the database compression feature.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, great. Which makes also the admin life easier, so to say. I mean,
absolutely. They don't have to go ahead and do any additional database configurations. We automatically take care of that. So once you enable the backup policy, you will start adding the databases. So now that in the previous step, we did the discovery, right? So these are the different databases that we discovered in that phase. So you will select what are the databases you need, whether you want to protect your system database or user database, you will select. See, one nuance about ASE is for your system database, especially a master database, log backups are not supported, right? So basically, in that case, if you enable log backups in the backup policy, it would fail. We throw appropriate warning saying that log backups are not supported. Just FYI, in case if you're trying to protect your master database, you need to disable log backups. Basically, what you will do is you will create a separate backup policy just for master database. For user database, predominantly, you will not have any concerns. You can straight away do that. And then you will select what database that you want to protect, and then select OK. And then you will review what backup policy and what is the database that you're looking to protect. And then you will review and configure. So once you do that, once your backup policy kicks in, your backups will start. So that's where you will start seeing the backup items. Basically, this will contain different databases that we are protected. So you can see master database, system DB, these are other user databases that are there. And we also tell what is the backup status as well. In case if there is any backup failure, in case if there is any log backup failure that has happened when you're not monitoring it, we will automatically change the backup status as well. So this is a very useful capability. Immediately you will understand if there is any backup failure or not. And you can also configure alerts and other things also in case if there is a backup failure, you can be notified as well. All those capabilities are available. So once you get in your regular backups, this is how it look like. So you will see different options, and this is where the backup now is, basically the ad hoc backup. So in case if your next scheduled backup is going to be a little delayed, and if you have a upcoming maintenance window, you can just do backup now, and then automatically we will just immediately enable backup.
Yeah. So it's not just, okay, you create the policy and you specify the time range,
Yeah.
But you can also do the backup anytime.
Anytime, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So the green bar that you're seeing is basically for your log backups. So we have log backups in databases, right? Transaction logs. So we do that, and which is basically useful for you to have lower RPO, right? So you can do up to 15 minutes a log backup window, frequent log backups, and you can do point in time restore. You can go back in time to a specific point in time. You can choose, okay, Wednesday 8:38. There was an incident where some vulnerability was introduced. So I want to go back to 8:38 where this incident happened at 8:39. You can even go back that granular and then say restore from that point in time.
Nice.
So that is a capability that you get with point in time restore. We basically leverage the log backups for that, and that is how we do it. And we have other capabilities like restore. We have 3 options for restore. We support alternate location restore, which is basically kind of system refresh scenario, right? And you can restore to a different location. You can have your target VM, and during any issue, you can restore those backups to a different alternate location. And this is basically original location is in place restore. If your source database is corrupted, how to go about restoring your backups and restoring that source database, or in place restore we call it, right? Even here you basically will select what are the different recovery points. You can choose point in time restore or fulls and diffs. We automatically pull whatever the full backups that are part of your vault, and then you can choose, okay, just I want to go back in time and then restore to this point, full backup. And then automatically it gets restored, right? And we also have a capability for restore as files, where we just restore them as files, as dump files. There are some customers basically will. So once we support all the capabilities for restore, and here is where you have other capabilities. For example, if you're looking at enabling private endpoints, you can do public by default, and you can enable private endpoints. You can create a private endpoint connection between your VM and the recovery services vault. This is for the private endpoints. And we also have capabilities, security capabilities. For example, we have security immutable vault that I was talking about, right? So you can enable immutability. There's also a concept of immutable lock, which means once you enable that, there is no turning back. So even the admin will not have capability to disable that. So it's just one way. It's irreversible. So once you enable that, when you are configuring your vault, which means nobody can make any changes to that. Nobody can make changes to your recovery points, to your backup policy. Nobody can delete your backups. So that is the capability that we have. We have both the options. Immutable vault, you can just enable and disable it. And you also have a irreversible option, which is immutable lock. So both the capabilities are available. And you also have multi-user authorization. Soft delete is another interesting feature where if you delete your backups by mistake, that will get stored in your soft delete container for up to 14 days with no cost. Basically, 14 days is configurable, so you can even extend that. There's also enhanced soft delete. By mistake, you delete them, it'll be part of your soft delete container. So think of it like more like your recovery or recycle bin in Windows.
Recycle bin, just which works for the 14 days or
Correct.
right.
So
Okay.
14 days, it works even beyond that. You can configure that.
Okay.
So basically, this is how it will look. So this is the soft delete
Okay.
configuration setting. You can select.
Mhm.
By default, it's 14, and we won't charge customers for 14 days. And anything beyond that, we will charge the customer.
And this is great because these features are really so important for the safety of the backup. Backup just has to be there and has to work, and nobody
Absolutely.
should be delayed. Yeah, nice.
Absolutely. And by default, we enable encryption as well. So once your backups come to recovery services vault, we enable encryption by default using Azure managed keys. In case if you want to use your customer managed keys or CMK, you can do that as well. So this is basically the encryption at the vault level. So once the recovery points come to the recovery services vault, they are encrypted as well.
Nice. So yeah, that's encryption is always I hear often as a question from a customer side in different contexts. So we have it.
Absolutely. And these are basically your backup jobs. You can
Mhm.
monitor these to understand how your backups are going. So based on your schedule, that will show up here, and you can see how your backup status is. All those capabilities are something which you can configure. You can come and see how your backup jobs are going. So
And
net.
similarly, I see you have site recovery jobs as well.
Correct. So this is for ASR as well. Yes.
Mhm.
So I don't have ASR configured, but you can monitor your ASR jobs as well here. And you have your alerts that you can configure. And in case of any failure, you will get a notification, email notification, or we have an integration with ServiceNow ticketing system
Great.
where you can even have a ticket opened as well. So all that is
Nice.
possible.
Nice. When you mention when we talk about the DR cross-region recovery, is it with the pair regions or with any
Yes.
to any region?
So if you see, right, so today, unfortunately, we support only paired region. So we have list of Azure paired regions. So if you go to this vault, I've enabled, I think, cross region restore. So you can see the secondary region enabling, right? So
Okay.
I just did that. I just enabled it a little while ago. It'll take some time to get replicated. So once what eventually it'll happen is, so my primary region, so it says secondary region, right? So this is my paired region. It says showing data from East US to secondary region. So automatically you will start seeing, since I just enabled it, you will start seeing the same thing in the secondary region as well.
Okay.
The replication is currently in progress, and automatically you will.
Maybe
So
just a
that's what I
feedback
wanted
from.
to showcase. Yeah, go on,
Excellent,
please.
excellent. Maybe feedback from my side. I mean, for eventually new feature to enable any to any region
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
be
That is
great.
part of our
Yeah,
roadmap. That is
yeah,
absolutely part of our roadmap. Just that it takes some more time to
of course.
support region of choice. We are going to say, call it as region of choice. So you can basically restore to your region of choice.
Nice. When we talk about the Sybase, one question came to my mind. Sybase is supported also in Azure running on Linux and in Windows. So,
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. So we support only Linux. So when we did the user research or customer research, we didn't see too many customers using ASE on Windows.
okay,
So that's where we went ahead and we support only Linux
okay,
for ASE. Good question. Yeah.
okay, okay, great. And I see Oracle in Azure VM also in a work. I see
Yes,
there.
yes, yes. Yeah.
This is great. Okay. Pradeep, amazing. I mean, really a lot of detail. I was aware of some of them, but actually many came during your presentation, so to say. So reducing of the price is a big thing. I mean, depending on the size, but 50 to 60% overall, it's huge. Having, I mean, customers always asking for other database, not just HANA. I mean, we support 6. So adding a Sybase, it's really great. HANA, it's also the most complex one. I mean, from a setup. So scale out, it's not everybody would do it, but still they are doing it. So this is really excellent to see it, and many of those other features, I really love it, you know. I mean, and it's amazing. It's just a cloud service for somebody who is seeing what you are clicking. It's so simple to set it
Correct.
up and to use it, you know. Always this kind of, in the past, the management product, monitoring, backup, it's you need to install it, configure it, back it up, care about the hardware. I mean, it's just the overhead. So having a cloud service, which is just no management, it's really amazing. So plus all the
Absolutely.
feature that customer has. So great update. I'm pretty sure many customer will be happy to hear it, and I guess they can also, if they have any question or need for any other session on YouTube channel, they could put us also on or questions
On the comment.
on a chat in the comments actually on a YouTube session. So we'll be more happy to follow up. And I do
Absolutely.
expect you also in some time with the new updates
Sure.
which are
Absolutely. There are a
coming.
lot of
Yeah.
interesting things that we are doing. So I'll keep sharing them as and when we are doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Great. So
Thanks for
thanks a
having me,
lot.
Goran.
Thank you
Bye.
for, thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye. Yeah.